So here we are again. Guess what? It's that time. It must be, I don't know, what's today? It must be Monday again.
Your shorts are showing, by the way.
That's good.
We are very casual tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. So, last week we did a little bit of discussions about a song. It was sung by Peggy Lee.
Well, yeah, one last week. It's been a couple weeks since we've been on here.
Peggy Lee's song.
Yep.
Entitled "Is That All There Is?"
Yep.
Almost wanted to play it again because it tickles me and saddens me all at the same time.
I just cry
It's
so
like,
much.
what in the world was someone thinking to come
Yeah.
up with that song?
Yeah, well, it turns out, I mean, she didn't originally record it, somebody else did, but
Yeah.
still, if you missed it, go look it up. It is on our other video. That video is about 40 minutes. We're really working hard cutting them back, guys. Really, really hard. This one should be short and sweet. We're not playing her song right now this time.
No.
But it's really sad.
Well, and the whole point of the movie was she goes
is that all there is?
a sequence of
everything.
life events, and everything that happened is that all there is?
Yes,
And
but
that
I
got
mean,
us to thinking.
like when she's a little girl and there's a house fire and her dad saves her and she's like, is that all there is to a fire? And then they go to the circus, greatest show on earth. Well, is that all there is? You know, the falling in love part, which is what we do really well. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And they break up and she's like, is that all there is? And then, she's just like, with everything, it's like, is that all there is? Well, if that's all there is, let's just keep, drinking and dancing and having a ball. Let's just keep partying on because none of it has any meaning.
And that's the part that I
the
couldn't relate
saddest
to
part.
was if that really is what you think, is that all there is? And your answer is there is no more.
Right?
Then what's the meaning of anything? I would be
Yes.
depressed. I would be.
Yes.
Everything inside me would shut down. I would become just so concerned about having what a waste all this energy is.
About at the end of that song.
I mean, how can you have fun when you realize you have no purpose, no value,
no hope?
no hope?
Right, which this was the topic from this first
Right.
time, so let's not go there this
I know,
time.
I mean, that's the
But
point.
she does end that song with saying, is that all there is? Don't worry about me. I know this sounds really depressing, but I'm not going to kill myself because I'm not going to be disappointed with the end of life either. And the reality is, what? Who thinks that way? You know what I mean? Who thinks that way?
And the answer is a lot more people
Then you
than
realize.
you would
Well,
and that's the
so
whole
we
point of
had-
the reason why we played that.
Well,
was
okay,
there's a lot
so
of
just to
people
kind of
ready.
recap that was we were talking about in Ephesians, and it's like for those without the Holy Spirit, then you would, of course, you turn to the worldly ways because you don't have anything that's going to give you hope or help you with life. But right now, so this is all. Is that all there is? Part 2, and the part that we are discussing tonight,
Relationships.
the relationship part of that song.
Relationships, yeah.
Where she's like, I met a boy and we got married and he left me and it broke my heart and I'm done. Oh wait, is that all there is? Then that's all there is to love, it's no big deal. And I'm thinking, wow. And so when we talked about this, it was, his partner brought it up to me and showed me the video, and I was just really, it just hurt to hear that because I know there's hurting people out there. And so I was talking to you about it. But then when we were talking to some other couples, because our job, that's what we do, is we try to help couples. And one of the couples was like, well, we've got a really great marriage. Wait for it. If that's all there is to marriage. And so I was just like, what?
It was actually said, and I know we didn't talk about this earlier, but I think it plugs right in. The part that we are wanting to talk to tonight actually has to do with conversations that we've had before, and specifically one of the principles that we've talked about before, which is the Lotus of Control.
Yes.
What we see in this song is the two different types of control, which you would refer to
Right.
as the psychological implications of a locus of control. That basically you can go through and explain it, but you have basically an internal and an external
Right.
controls that you have on yourself. That
Yes.
some of them you can control,
Right.
some of them you can't.
Right.
That song was so fatalistic
Yes.
in everything that it said, which meant this person perceived life from a control point of outside. Everything happened to her
Except
in
she,
her relationships.
but she wasn't
and
really.
she didn't care.
But she wasn't really, because when you're doing that, she wasn't really a victim. She was just like,
She didn't
oh,
even try.
right.
She wasn't a victim.
No.
She had accepted this
Yes.
as, is that all there is?
But I consider that as an internal, not she
I
was
don't.
a total
I consider
control.
that to be.
No,
She 100%
I don't agree.
never was striving for anything greater. She was just
Right.
meeting everything at status
but she
quo.
wasn't letting the world beat her up. She was in control of
No,
it.
sure, she was in control
Hey,
of
the
it by
lowest
saying,
expectations.
"Next."
The lowest expectations, which is what you always talk about.
Yeah, that's what she went
Yes,
for.
that's what
That's
she
my
did.
point.
Okay,
and
but
bringing
that's
that
not.
into relationships,
Mm-mm.
there are so many relationships that don't see or strive or know that there's so much better out there for them, that they're meeting that first mark and they think that mark is a good mark for the rest of their life.
Yes, because
and
they
that's
don't.
what we're talking about tonight. Is
Yeah,
there's
but that's not
so many
necessarily
more
Lotus.
levels.
Yeah, but that they don't. I'm just saying, Lotus Control with that does not
Yeah, I
mesh.
think you can, but
No.
that's not what we're here to talk about
No,
tonight.
it's not. Yep. Okay, it's not what we're talking about tonight. Okay, so we're talking about relationships, and y'all know. I mean, it just breaks my heart for somebody to be married 30 years or whatever, and say, "Well, yeah, we've got a great marriage." If that's all there is.
Or
And-
it's the same today as it was when we got married.
Yeah,
I hope
because
not.
well, I hope not, because
That would be a
here's
sad
the
thing to
reality, and we talk about this all the time. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have good days and bad days. You're going to have days you don't like each other, and you're going to have days that you just, love each other so much. But the reality is, hopefully, as you're growing in life, the relationship is growing, and you've learned to apply some tools. Then that's why we decided to become relationship coaches.
Right.
And get certified, is because we know what applying tools can do for our relationship. Because
Sure.
we applied them and we changed our relationship. Otherwise, there was a time that we could have looked back and went, well, we'll give up too. Although we had actually we would have been the opposite. We'd have been like some other people we know, well, we're Christians, so we're staying married, whether you have a relationship or not.
The good news is that all there is? We have the answer.
Mm-hmm. And no. That's not all there is.
That's not all there is,
Right.
obviously. But
Right.
there's ways to obtain higher levels of intimacy. There's higher level of relationship, higher level of happiness and joy. And it all relates to the basic principles of what we talked about last week, which are tied to the hierarchy of godly principles that you apply to your life and put into your marriage to overcome the obstacles that have come in your way in life to become more fulfilled.
Okay, so we were talking about applying some of the tools that we've learned, which they're biblically based and different things. But I want to go to the part with the relationship paragraph in here. We have some notes. We're not really sticking to them because we are, but we're just wanting to chat. This is our new forum. Hopefully y'all like it. So the relationship it goes from when you met. Well, I was going to say usually it's going to be, you find each other attractive, so you want to go out and all that kind of stuff. We did not find each other attractive the first day we met. We spent the day together,
Right.
and we liked each other, but for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
But we didn't really find each other attractive, and it took conversations. Once we talked to each other, we spoke with such ease with each other. The conversation came natural for us. We don't know why, other than it was God, because we've been able to talk since the day we got married.
Right.
Communicating for us, not communicating as in the relationship side, but just talking to be talking, because we're both talkers,
Right.
has always worked for us, right?
Yeah.
That part we still have.
You let me talk, I get to hear my voice. And
Yeah,
it
you
sounds
love that,
beautiful.
don't you?
Then you say a few words and I get to hear my voice again and it's so beautiful.
Right?
And I just like that. It's really nice. You
Right.
always give me an opportunity to continue to express myself.
As long as you get to hear your voice, that's
It's
all
so
that
beautiful.
matters.
Yeah.
Okay, so my point being though, 30 years later, we still have the communication thing, but you know, at the beginning of a relationship, you usually have that physical attraction.
Right.
You have the communication, and you start growing with one another, right? And the relationship grows, and hopefully you stay together, you get married, and life goes on, which is what happened with us. But the warm fuzzies and all of the puppy dog, you know, infatuation, you kind of have to outgrow.
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
you're not going to hang on to that infatuation, because that's actually designed as part of the relationship. It's such a brilliant part
Yeah.
of the relationship in terms of godly designs,
Yeah.
because it allows you to overlook so many flaws in the other person
Yes.
early on, before you've had an opportunity to communicate and work your way through them. If it wasn't for the infatuation, we would all just be like, ooh.
Yeah.
We would just see those things right off the top, and
Yeah.
this allows us to get past those things, see deeper into the person, or at least
And by
go
then,
over them.
and by then you already are caring for them or loving them.
It allows you to bridge that gap
Right,
before you actually have to start dealing with the fact that you interrupt me all the time, or
Yes.
you know.
Well, we interrupt each other pretty well, but generally speaking, not in
Or
this.
you don't speak.
In this format, I do interrupt you as much as you interrupt me. In another format, in all the rest of our life areas, you constantly talk over me. Here, I have the freedom. I feel like
we
it's
overtalk
okay.
each other. This is how you communicate.
Yeah. Well,
People
whatever.
find it fascinating for whatever reason. It's
Okay,
just communicating.
so I'm taking it from there because I mentioned to somebody, to one of my friends, that, you know, I still have the warm fuzzies when, you know, thinking about you, or if you hold my hand, or, you know, just even just sitting here right now. You know what I'm saying? It's not like all the time.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. It's not like when we first met and you know, you're teenagers. I'm not a teenager. I wasn't a teenager when I met you, but I mean, I was early 20s. I was still just a baby, mind you, when we first met. But, you know, all the time it was all about, you know, everything to make you happy. None of that changed for me. But it should have, in the sense of, like, I don't have all of the warm gushies 24/7. I just have them occasionally. And one of the wives, in talking,
where are you out if you had it?
said to me, well, you know, I think it's great that she goes, I just don't even know if I've ever had a warm fuzzy over, you know, over my husband. And I was just like, that's sad, because after 30 years, I still do. And part of that's because we work really hard on the relationship. And so when I'm thinking of him, trust me, there are the times that I can sit here and think of him and just be like, what? And still question what?
Right.
Because
and there are several different types of relationships.
Yes.
And you could have one that doesn't have to have the warm fuzzies in it. Because the need for the relationship is different. But that's not usual.
But this gets to is that all there is? Her whole point being, she wanted that side of a marriage. She wanted to develop that side.
And had no idea how to get there.
Well, you know, there's tools that you can apply, which is what we're talking about.
Right.
Communication tools, things that you can apply in your life.
Right.
And once you start, in fact, there's another couple that started applying some tools, and one of the first things they said was, oh my goodness, this, you know, it's going to be way much better. And we can see, because we did think that this is all there was to marriage, and it was a great relationship. But now we see that there's so much more, because we're learning to communicate properly. We're not having to, you know, either stifle our feelings, or we talk too much, or we're not heard, or all the things that generally happen, which is all the same things that we had. I either exploded or I stuffed it. You stuffed and would go in a closet and explode at the very beginning. You know, I mean,
you know, the funny part is, as you go on in years, you see older couples, meaning not just older in age.
Hey, Lottie, I haven't seen you on here in a little bit.
But also older in their relationship. So you've got people who are steeped in marriage, in a relationship.
Right.
And a lot of the times you can see a level of intimacy. No, I did not get you a straw. Mm-hmm. A level of intimacy that is so different than when they were younger.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, there's a lot more. There are so many telltale signs that when we walk around, we can see relationships, and sometimes an older couple's not necessarily talking very much, but they're communicating a lot.
Right.
And we can see that. And other times we see similar situation. They're not communicating very much, and they're literally not communicating.
Right.
So you can see the difference.
Well,
They've developed a connection. It's all about the tools. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, if you will, in the relationship.
Well, it's being willing to learn that
about each other.
Well, about each other, and while the other one's growing, but the other one is to realize that there are tools that we all need. If we hadn't started learning some tools 15, 18 years ago, I'm trying to think.
You can only go to the level you know.
When we first started was when Joe McGee came to the church.
Right.
I think Crystal was around 16 then. I base everything on my kid's age, okay? Because everything in my life was based on their ages.
The first time we ever saw anybody come in and talk to us exactly where we were in the relationship. Where each person, each couple, each person in that room, he spoke to where you were.
Well, and that's where we learned
showed
to
you
start.
There's so many other levels you could get to, and you're like, I had no idea.
There was so much that brought to us. I bought all his VHS tapes because I was like, we're going to learn some stuff, and we did. And our pastors at the time were very family and marriage, and it was a whole new side of stuff that we had never seen before. And once we started applying all of these things, our relationship got better, and our family. It was better family dynamics. It's a better relationship.
Right.
There was so much more. Of course, now you can look back and say, "Wow, I wish I'd known everything I know now back then." Yeah, that's true because it would have been different. It would have been different for my kids. It would have been different for our relationship. Right. But the reality is, I'm glad that we learned and that we moved on. But I was going to say something and I forgot it. No, you didn't. Keep going.
See what happens when I don't interrupt? You don't rush to the end. Yeah. So you got Joe McGee teaching us about so much.
Learning the tools, applying the tools, but then, this is a good one. Okay, there's a phrase that I absolutely can't stand, and if you use this in your house, I'm going to tell you right now to stop it. It's an awful phrase. It's just awful.
I think it's awful for other reasons, but it's used all the time in a very positive way. But
it's not. It's not a positive way. And that is, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And I have, one of the things is, as much as my husband and children loved me, that was not a phrase that really mattered in our house. And I'm not saying they didn't worry about me being happy. I'm not being a martyr or complaining. But it was not a top priority. But nor did I want it to be, because I wanted you and the kids to be happy as much as I could at the time. And so I read a phrase, but I hate, strong word, I dislike that phrase so much. I just do. Because I think happy spouse, happy house, or, if there's something that could rhyme with the family, so everybody's happy. Now, you're going to make your kids mad, you're going to tick off your husband or your wife. I get that. But the reality is, I should not be so bent on being that I should be happy, that all my kids and my husband should be making me happy because I'm the wife, I'm the mom, that they have to bend over backwards and kill themselves to, struggle and doing whatever it is they're doing to make me happy so that there's peace in the home. I should be getting up and causing the peace in the home so that they would in turn, it's kind of like cyclical or whatever.
I see it.
It's a cycle
that's why
happens.
I did this on peace. I have a thing about being peace versus...
Hey, Jean.
Peace
Sorry.
versus quiet.
Yes.
I think more times than not, most men, when they hear that phrase, reflect on the negative and say it's better to keep her quiet.
Yes.
And they equate that to happy wife, happy life. What they're thinking in their head is happy wife, quiet life.
Yes.
And I don't. That's so unproductive. I see it in comedy routines all the time, and it's a direct reflection of real life. The reason why you see it there is because it's funny.
I know.
Because you got two different people seeing it two totally different ways, if you're saying expressing yourself, happy spouse, happy house, it communicates more in the right direction because it's about the communication and sharing back and forth. The other one is all focused on a single person.
Yes.
If that person's happy, we're all going to be happy. We all know intuitively that that's not true,
Right.
but it sets a terrible precedent
Right.
for the fact that if you can keep that one person quiet and just
Now, in
and
reality,
make them think they're happy and give them platitudes, you're never going to rise to the next level.
in reality, moms, wives generally set the tone of the house for the day. And
That
if
is
we,
what that's about.
And if we start off, and I mean, there were times I started off not setting a good tone for my household.
Nobody wants to come home.
And nobody would want to come home to that. But, you know, the reality is,
We get it.
well, of course, I mean, again, you go back and you can't go back and change things, so you just keep moving on. Now, I get up in the mornings, and there are times that I can get up and be just really upset with you. I have a really good example we can talk about right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
This is like that show we watch tonight. You sure you want to do a live one on TV?
Yes, I do, because it's not that big a deal, and we're not going to fight about it, because that one was funny on TV the other night. Okay, so this morning, we, you know...
You can't stop in the
I'm
middle
sorry,
of
I
a sentence and
got
read
a
your
text.
watch. It's rude.
So this,
And it's really bad TV.
So we talk about, last night we're talking, I'm going to back up.
Back it up.
I start trying to go to bed at 9 o'clock because it takes about 3 hours to get to sleep for me because of all of his antics. It takes him a while. And yes, and then, so last night it was like 9 o'clock and I'm like, you know, I'm really ready for bed. And he's like, well, you know, and I said, you're going to watch TV. We're going to go through yada, yada, yada. So we go to bed. Sure enough, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning before all of the stuff stopped. So when my alarm went off this morning, this is the telling on him part. My alarm went off early. I always get up before him so he can sleep longer, and I hate it, and it's not really conducive to my life, but I do it to make him happy, whatever. So I get up, and he's like, yeah, we're going to sleep some longer. So, okay, I set the alarm for an hour later. No, we're going to sleep another hour. So, mind you, my sleep has now been interrupted. Not only did I wind up being in bed for 4 hours before getting to go to sleep, the morning I wake up, there's 2 hours, then he chose to work from home. Now, the part that I'm getting to, the long story to get to this part is, I could have been very, very angry and set a tone. This is what I'm talking about. This is the lesson. I could have set a tone and been angry with you because I got zero sleep last night because you kept me up really late, got me up really early, and then we wound up not even leaving the house. We worked from here, which was fine. But instead, I got up and I was dressed for work, got out the laptop, started working, and offered coffee and what can I get you to eat and what can I do. And the reason why I say that is not to brag on myself, because any given day I could have gone off the deep end and just jumped him with, I can't believe you didn't let me sleep after all you put me through last night, yada, yada, yada. And I'm using that as an example for the ladies when we are what sets the tone. But because I didn't go off the deep end, it gave him the freedom to sit there and work without feeling like he needed to make me happy or shut me up or whichever one came first, right? Is that not a good example? Neither one of us looked bad in that. It was just, we had a rough night of sleep. I needed sleep. He chose to work from home. I could have been angry, chose not to be. That's where it needs to come down. Really, both spouses need to make that choice. You can choose to set a happy tone.
Right.
You can choose to.
So,
it's not always easy.
Is that all there is to the relationship? This part plugs into
well, this
how
goes
you get
into
to the next level is by controlling.
Yeah, because you're going to go to the part where if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And we're talking about mom does control the tone of the house, but she controls the tone of the house. That whole thing is cyclical. She's going to be happy because everybody else makes her happy, but not necessarily because her happiness shouldn't come from that. It should be coming from what's inside you. It should be coming from God. Your joy, your peace, your strength, all of this is coming from God, not from your spouse or your children. And God knows, I've lived for my spouse and my children for 30 years.
Right.
I mean, I am definitely guilty on that.
But that's the point I
But
figured
that's-
you were
yes.
migrating into, which
The joy.
is so much of the time relationships get capped at the, for lack of better words, earning potential of the
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
And once you've reached that glass ceiling, which is as far as you can bring it with each other, minus some tools and things that we've talked about.
Learn the tools.
You've got to learn. The first thing you would do in coming to us and we're discussions about the relationship is going to be getting your priorities in the right order. And when we see the relationships focus so much this way and not so much this way, we need to correct that and take care of it. Yep.
Okay, so I want to.
That's my alarm.
It's time for us to get off. Okay.
It wasn't for
It's
us
been
to
30
get off,
minutes.
it was for something else.
It's been 30 minutes. Okay. Well, there is. So we want the happy spouse, happy house, and you do need to learn the tools for both of you to be able to take care of each other. But God tells us in Ephesians, and this is what I'm going to get to here. I'm going to talk to the husbands. You can talk to the wives if you want to, or you can talk to the husbands and I can talk to the wives. Which one do you want to do? Top verses for husbands.
Yeah, so Ephesians 5:25, for husbands this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. He gave up his life for her. Men, if you love your life as Christ loved the church and gave, what? Men, if you love your wife as Christ loved the church and he gave his life for her. So, I mean, you're dedicating yourself to her.
You're giving up your life for me. That's what that states.
Meaning I should be more concerned about your wants and needs than mine. I put you above me and ahead of me in all that I do in the relationship.
Right.
Those spending more time with you and working with you than me listening to myself talk and worrying about my ways and all my discomforts and issues.
Yes.
So, if I put you ahead of me, that's a biblical principle. That's going this way. That's listening to what's going on there, and then your responsibility.
You have to think about how Jesus was how he was with the church. I mean, he loved the church so much so he gave up his life. He took on. I mean, if you look at all of everything that he went through to be able to do that, that's a lot. Let's think about it, wives. If our husbands they're gonna love us the way Jesus loved the church. Look at what Jesus went through. So think about what your husband needs to go through for you. I mean, that makes me want to take care of him. That makes me want to be his helpmate, as the scripture says. But the biggest thing that women have a hard time with is, wives, be subject to your husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, just as Christ is also head of the church. If he is loving me the way Christ loves the church, and he's putting me first, and you're not golfing, you're not at the office, you're not volunteering at the church 24/7, and nothing wrong with doing any of those things, but they're not coming before me. You know what I'm saying? Then it's easy for me to want
playing video games.
or whatever. But it makes it easy for me to want to be submissive and to do what you've asked me to do, and to love and respect and honor you, because you've put me in the right place. And a lot of times, and I know we're supposed to be getting off of here, but what happens is the roles are reversed. The wife does all the leading because the husband doesn't really want to have to try, so he gets lazy. So she takes over, and then your roles are reversed, and now he's being submissive to her, and she's doing the leading, and you will have problems in your marriage and in your home, and you will have chaos because you are not in line with God's word. That's a little bit extra that just popped out there.
And the last little bit tying in with that, in terms of me doing the things, a husband for the wife. The things that we talk about in terms of the toolbox that we're talking about that's where we start talking about what the love language is.
All the tools that we've talked about.
That's where the rubber meets the road on the spiritual principle. It's like, well, what do I do to do that? We can talk to you about those things specifically. Each one's uniquely different, but those are the kinds of things that speak to the other person, that fulfills your love tank or fulfills you as a person, so that way you can reflect it back. I'm way better at saying it than I am at doing it, that we can possibly say. So, just because I can tell people how great it is, it takes a lot of work, especially when it's the opposite of what you feel comfortable doing.
Right. For some of us, it's harder than others.
It is.
It is.
So it
So,
seems.
so the last scripture, and then we're going to get
Yep.
off of here. And this is for both parties.
Yep.
Be completely humble and gentle. Don't be so proud of yourself that I'm going to hold it over you and you're going to do. No, knock that stuff out. Be gentle. Be patient. You bear one another in love. So the reality is, you know, when you have the opportunity to be angry or to get upset. If I have an opportunity to get angry or upset, but I choose to be caring and loving, and this is one of the great things that I've learned in the last couple of years. This has really helped us a lot. Instead of me coming at you, because I'm angry, that sounded like a cow.
It did.
So
I will not make any heifer jokes.
So, but instead of me coming after you like a cow, then I can choose to wait and think about it and bring it to you in a loving manner without being accusatory. These are some of the tools we're talking to y'all about, and it helps you respond better, and we were able to work through the process, and there's way less fighting. But
Maturity is a beautiful thing. Maturity in the relationship, as well as yourself,
yes,
grows together. As
Right.
you combine those things
Right.
together, just because you feel it doesn't mean you have to express it at that moment. You still could once you get really good at it. You can feel it, immediately put it in the category list and bring it out with some of the things you've trained, thought, or talked about with each other and express it in a progressively positive way.
right,
And that way it's like, you know what, we can deal with things straight on the fly. You don't have to go through
Right.
this as you get good with it. It's on the fly. And realize, yep, that was one of those things that could have been a screamer, but we actually are dealing with it at a different level. And
and it's
you
not
don't
to say
have
that
to
you're not still going to
de-escalate.
have them, because it is.
You're always
It's
you're a
going
human
to,
being. You're going to have them, but you're going to be able to head off most of them. One of the things I was listening to just this morning, I know I'm kind of adding onto it, was a thing about talking about walking with the Holy Spirit.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I mean, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw your post. Yeah,
And I was thinking about that in the sense that, and how that helps you. It's what we're talking about now is the same thing, is that you can avoid so many situations that you would have roamed into otherwise if you don't listen to that voice.
Yeah.
In this case, the Holy Spirit. Or if you don't listen to the things that you've learned,
Mm-hmm.
that voice is still there as part of your guidance
Yeah.
for what a relationship is. As you
Right.
develop those things, you can hear that voice, the Holy Spirit that's speaking to you and saying, be careful here. Now, I know you're upset, but and you get a refocus on it. So, but the biggest thing it pointed out to me was it prevents you from getting into situations you wouldn't otherwise. And when you do, because we're human, get in those situations, it quickens your spirit for you to change the route you're about to take to achieve a higher level of success.
Right,
And it's the same process.
right. Okay, so it has been. We need to be getting off of here because we're really trying to keep it as close to 30 minutes or less as
Hey,
possible.
I think we got it across.
We're pretty close. So there is way more to life than, partying, like that song says.
Certainly is way better than that.
Way better than that.
Life is not
But
Bourbon Street.
there's
on
way
New
more
Orleans
to
all
your
day.
marriage relationship and your family relationship. And if you're single, there's way more to life. And if you need to know some tools and you want to learn anything, we offer coaching, and you can message us, call us. The phone number's on the page or whatever. So let us know, and we'll be happy to work with you and help you. I mean, it has totally transformed our relationship. Not to say, of course, there's always going to be
We
the
always
little
bring
things,
real
but
world stuff. So when
Oh,
you
yeah.
talk to us, we talk back with the same experiences we've had to
Yep.
you, so we can relate to each other, and you can say, "Yep, that's what I'm talking
well,
about."
let me tell you something. There's a lot of times that when we're talking to somebody that we can see ourselves, and it's really because let's face it, there's a lot of the same thing that men go through. It's not to just wave a brush over all men. They're all like this, because they're not. But some of the same things are kind. He can understand, and same for the women, depending on the area. So it's really a lot easier to do that. But anyway, so y'all just give us a call.
Sure.
And next week, I don't know, I have at least 2 topics already picked out. I've actually got several, but I don't know which one we're going with because he's mentioned one and I've mentioned one, and I don't know which one we're going to go with yet, so I'm not going to announce it yet.
You have to wait and see. We're going to keep you looking a couple
I'll
days.
tell you the two topics. You know what? I'll tell you the 2 topics. And y'all put in the comments what you want us to talk about. One is going to be pornography and the damages of pornography. And one is going to be you bring into your marriage, your childhood comes into your adulthood and affects you as a parent and as a spouse and an adult. And those are 2 kind of big topics.
Yeah, I mean, you would be amazed at how those 2 things bring so much. It can do so much damage and so many things to a relationship.
Yep.
Those 2 are very powerful. It sounds like one's way worse or way more potential than the other. And it's like, no, there's a lot of things, a lot of stuff that comes from both sides of this.
If you're watching, I want y'all to put down there which one you want to see or hear. We're going to wind up doing them both. The problem is I always find my topic, and then along the way something new comes
Good
up.
and wonderful comes along.
And it's like there's so much more.
Enough,
But I'm writing blogs now, so go check out the blogs. So some of it I'm taking into blogs. I'm planning on actually putting together some Bible studies.
If you have a situation you want us to speak to, mention it.
Yeah, if you have a topic, let us know.
We're more than happy to speak to it.
But there's a lot that God's changing. As you can tell, we're doing this format a little different. We're trying to make it a conversation more than talking at y'all, because this is the way I think we really do very well.
We researched this all week long, so now it's our time to casually
share.
Probably 80 or 90% of what each other's going to say, but it's that other fresh 10% that we bring in.
Well, the nice part is not knowing what the other one's going to say, and that's what I like, so we can share it with y'all. I mean, y'all got to hear us get into it earlier, and I was like, nope, that is not it. And you're like, yep, that is it. And if you missed it, go back and watch it, because we didn't really argue about anything. We just were like, nope, I don't agree with you. Sort of not agree. I mean, yeah, I didn't, but that's okay. Okay, good night. We'll be back. Supposed to be this coming Monday, and it's always up to him. We skipped one Monday recently, so we'll see.
We're going to try.
All righty.
Be here.
Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.